Now that you have read the background information for the Mount Pinatubo case study, now we're going to start on the procedures. The first step of the procedure is working with the ash thickness map that you see on the screen in front of you. If you take a look at your procedures, what you're going to be doing is drawing in the missing contour lines, just like the contour lines you saw on the topographic maps from earlier in the unit. These maps for Mount Pinatubo don't show elevation, they show the thickness of the ash. So we're going to be drawing contour lines for 5, 20, and 30 centimeters. Let's get started. If you take a look at your map, some of the lines have already been drawn for you. For example, look at the outermost line. This shows locations where the ash was measured to be 1 centimeter thick. Okay, and as you get closer to the caldera, this little tiny circle, the ash gets thicker, which is what we would expect. So to draw in the missing lines, we have to locate where they should be. Our first line that we have to draw in is 5 centimeters of ash. If you take a look, we have 1 here and 10 here. So it's safe to assume that our 5 centimeter line should go right in between those two. The first step in drawing these contour lines is to look at the dots, which are sample stations, and the numbers next to them. That tells us how much ash was measured in that exact spot. So if you take a look just below Lubao, there is a dot with 5 right next to it. That tells me that is exactly where our line must go through, because there's 5 centimeters of ash in that location. The problem is, if you scan around the rest of the map, 5 is nowhere else. So we have to estimate where it should go. So let me show you how to do that. There's a dot down here that says there's 4 centimeters of ash. And up here, there's a dot for 12. So if you count, 5 is in between 4 and 12. So 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. So that means the dot for 5 centimeters of ash should be right about here. So we're going to draw it in. So we're going to take these 2 dots, and now we can connect them together. And we're going to keep going around until we have our line completed. So if we look here, we've got 3 and 12. So I know 5 is in here somewhere. So I'm going to connect that line. And then we have a 4 and a 2. It's not there. 4 and 10. If I count, 5 is in there. And 2 to 10, there's a 5 in there. If I just keep going around and following the pattern, slide this down, you'll see 4 and 13. There's a 5 here. Connect them together. Follow it over, 0.7 and 8. There's definitely a 5 almost halfway through there. 3 to 6. Should be a 5 here. And then the line can stop when it hits the ocean, because we can't measure the ash in the sea. So we just end the line where the land ends. Okay, so now you have a completed line representing where 5 centimeters of ash was located after the eruption. So now you need to put in the line the same exact way for 20 centimeters of ash, so right in here, and 30 centimeters of ash, so right between these 2 lines. You'll complete your map and then answer the questions. The other features of the map that I'd like to point out are the keys down at the bottom. All of the black areas around the caldera are where the pyroclastic flows happened. Remember, those are hot clouds of ash and debris that are on fire coming out of the volcano. The little polka dots that you see coming down from the volcano are the lahars. Lahars, remember, are mud flows. It's when it rains or the snow on the top of the mountain melts, mixes with the ash, and the lahars tend to follow the river valleys. The last thing to show you on the map are these little stars. There are 3 of them. These stars are sample locations. So this is where scientists scooped up the ash and studied what it looked like. And at your table, you'll find that you have these ash cards that match those locations. So you can see this is the ash collected from San Fernando right here on the map. You're going to need that in the future for the analysis questions. The last thing I would like to show you before we conclude this tutorial is a little something about the first few questions. So I'm going to escape out of this map and show you a little something with this picture. The picture that you're looking at is showing a volcanic eruption captured from space, from the International Space Station. You can see clearly how the ash cloud has been pulled out by the wind. So looking at this cloud, I can see that the wind is moving, if I move my arrow, in this direction. So you can tell the direction of the wind based on where the ash goes. So on your map, you need to look for where the contour lines stretch out away from being a perfect circle. They make sort of like a U shape or a horseshoe shape. If there was no wind, those contour lines would make perfect circles. It would look like a target. But once the wind kicks in, it takes those perfect circles and stretches them out in the direction that the wind is blowing. So make sure that you consider that when you're working on your first questions in the question and analysis section of the lab. If you have any more questions, please ask for help. Enjoy!